I never thought a Thursday night football game could unravel everything I thought I knew about family, loyalty, and the quiet ache of wanting what you can't have. The roar of the crowd on TV drowned out the storm raging outside our old brick house in suburban Chicago. But inside, the air crackled with something far more dangerous. Unspoken truths bubbling up like the foam on our cheap beers. And then Jake Turner, my brother's unbreakable shadow, turned to me with eyes that had seen too much, grabbed my hand under the blanket we'd thrown over our laps against the chill and said, "Ethan, if I don't tell you now, I never will." It was the kind of confession that hits like a blindside tackle. Sudden, brutal, and leaving you gasping on the turf. I'd spent 24 years building walls around the part of me that dreamed of touches like that. Especially from someone like Jake. Broad-shouldered, easy-laughing Jake, who'd been crashing on our couch since high school and treated our family like his own. My brother, Ryan, was passed out in the armchair across the room. His snores a rhythmic counterpoint to the announcer's hype about the Bears' comeback chances. Ryan, the golden boy, the straight-arrow cop who'd married his high school sweetheart and never once questioned the script life handed him. Me? I was the quiet one, the graphic designer who hid behind screens, sketching dreams I'd never voice. Jake's hand was warm, calloused from his construction gigs, and it trembled just enough to betray the steel he wore like armor. "I've been lying to everyone," he murmured, his voice low enough that only the thunder outside could eavesdrop. "To Ryan, to myself, but mostly, to you." My pulse thundered louder than the storm, because I'd felt it too. The way his gaze lingered when Ryan wasn't looking, the accidental brushes in the kitchen that weren't accidents at all. We'd danced around it for years, two satellites orbiting the same forbidden gravity well. I pulled my hand away, not because I wanted to, but because the room felt too small, the stakes too high. "Jake, Ryan's right there. What the hell are you?" But he cut me off with a look, that piercing blue stare that had always made my stomach flip, now raw with desperation. The TV flickered to a commercial, some sappy truck ad about unbreakable bonds. And in that pause, Jake leaned closer, his breath minty from the gum he chewed to mask the beer. "I love you, Ethan. Have for years. And I think, God, I hope, you feel it too." The words hung there, heavier than the snow starting to pile against the window panes. Love. Not the brotherly crap Ryan threw around, but the kind that rewires your soul, the kind that poets die for and fools like me pretend doesn't exist. I wanted to bolt, to laugh it off as a drunken slip, but my body betrayed me. Leaning in, mirroring him, our foreheads almost touching. "This can't happen," I whispered, even as my fingers itched to trace the stubble on his jaw. "Ryan would kill us both." He nodded, slow and pained, but didn't pull back. "I know. That's why I've stayed away. But tonight, seeing you laugh at that dumb penalty call, the way your eyes light up, I can't bury it anymore." The storm howled, rattling the panes, and for a heartbeat, it felt like the world was cheering us on, or warning us off. Ryan stirred in his sleep, muttering something about a fumble, and we froze, two statues carved from fear and fire. When he settled, Jake's lips brushed mine. Just a ghost of a kiss, electric and gone too soon. "Think about it," he said, voice cracking. "Please." The second half kicked off with a bang. A touchdown that had me yelling at the screen to cover the chaos in my chest. Ryan jolted awake, groggy and grinning, oblivious as he high-fived Jake over my head. "Dude, you missed the best part. Bears are unstoppable." Jake played along, his laugh booming, but his eyes flicked to mine, a silent plea. I nodded, barely, because what else could I do? Deny the spark that had just ignited a bonfire in my veins? As the game wound down, Bears pulling off a miracle win on a last-second field goal. The three of us piled into the kitchen for post-game rituals. Leftover pizza, bad jokes, and Ryan's endless stories from the precinct. Our house, a creaky two-story on the edge of Lincoln Park, had seen better days, but it was home. Faded wallpaper from Mom's era. The scent of Dad's old pipe tobacco lingering in the corners even though he'd been gone 5 years now. Mom had remarried a quiet accountant in Milwaukee, leaving Ryan and me to rattle around like marbles in a shoebox. Ryan, at 28, was the anchor, I was the driftwood. Jake fit seamlessly, as always. He'd grown up 2 blocks over, his own folks splitting when he was 12, bouncing between trailers and temp jobs until Ryan dragged him into our orbit. They were inseparable, forged in little league mud and teenage rebellion. I tagged along quietly, the little brother nursing a crush that started with Jake's first growth spurt and never quite faded. But I'd buried it deep, dated girls in college to prove a point I didn't even believe, and now here it was, clawing its way out on a night when the wind off Lake Michigan howled like it knew our secrets. Ryan clapped Jake on the back, oblivious. Stay over, man. Storm's a beast. Roads'll be ice by morning. Jake glanced at me, that loaded look, and shrugged. Yeah, couch is calling my name. My stomach twisted. The couch, where he'd sleep feet from my room, walls thin as paper. Ryan crashed early, claiming shift hangover, leaving us to clean up. The kitchen clock ticked past midnight, the TV murmuring infomercials in the living room. We washed dishes in silence at first, suds bubbling like unspoken words. Then Jake dried a plate too hard, and it slipped, shattering on the tile. Shit, he muttered, dropping to his knees to gather the shards. I knelt too, our hands brushing over a jagged piece, and the air thickened again. Ethan, he started, voice rough. That wasn't just the beer talking. I meant every word. I rocked back on my heels, heart hammering. Jake, you're Ryan's best friend. My brother's best friend. It would destroy him. The pieces glinted under the fluorescent light, sharp as the truth. He'd been there through Ryan's divorce last year, holding him up when I couldn't, too tangled in my own closet to be the rock Ryan needed. Jake had dated women too, casually, convincingly, but I'd seen the cracks. The late-night texts he'd delete when Ryan was around, the way he'd watch me sketch at the dining table, hunger in his eyes. He sat back, elbows on knees, looking every bit the exhausted 27-year-old he was. Faded Cubs cap pushed back, flannel shirt rumpled. Destroy him? Or free us? Ryan's family, Ethan. Your family. Hell, you're more. His voice broke on the last word, and something in me cracked too. I reached out, cupped his face, thumb tracing the line of his scar. From a bar fight in college, Ryan's doing, both too drunk to remember why. Jake leaned into it, eyes closing, and I felt the dam burst. We kissed then, properly. Not the tentative brush from earlier, but a collision of pent-up years, hands fisting shirts, breaths mingling like we'd been starving. It was messy, urgent, tasting of salt and regret, but God, it was alive. When we broke apart, gasping, the kitchen felt sacred, profane. We can't, I said, even as I pulled him closer. Not like this. We'll figure it out, he promised, forehead to mine. For us, for once. The storm had quieted to a whisper, snow blanketing the world outside in hush. We cleaned the shards, moved like conspirators, and when he headed to the couch, I lingered in the doorway, watching his silhouette in the TV's blue glow. Sleep evaded me that night, replaying the taste of him, the weight of what we'd started. Morning came crisp and white, the kind of Illinois winter that bites but sparkles. Ryan was up first, frying eggs and blasting sports radio, none the wiser. Jake emerged rumpled, flashing that grin that hid everything, and we fell into routine. Coffee, banter, the unspoken humming beneath. But as he shrugged on his coat to brave the plows, he slipped me a note. Lunch tomorrow? Neutral ground. J. My hands shook as I pocketed it. Neutral ground. Like we were spies in our own lives. Ryan drove him to his truck, hollering about rematch night, and I waved from the porch, snow crunching underfoot. Alone, I unfolded the note, tracing his scrawl. Lunch. A beginning. Or the end of everything I knew. The diner on Halsted Street was a relic, checkered floors, vinyl booths cracked like old smiles, and coffee strong enough to wake the dead. I'd gotten there early, nursing a mug and sketching aimless lines on a napkin. Football laces morphing into tangled hearts. Chicago's loop buzzed outside, commuters bundled against the wind whipping off the lake. But inside, it was a bubble, timeless, safe. until Jake walked in, shaking snow from his beanie, spotting me across the room with that half-smile that twisted my insides. He slid into the booth, knees knocking mine under the table, and ordered the lumberjack special like he hadn't just upended my world. "You look good," he said, casual as if we were discussing the Bears' defense. But his eyes, stormy blue, framed by lashes too long for a guy, gave him away, flicking to my lips before settling on my sketch. "That's us, huh? Trapped in the play." I flushed, crumpling the napkin. "Something like that." The waitress poured his coffee, oblivious, and we dove into small talk. Ryan's latest precinct drama. My freelance gig designing logos for a queer youth center downtown. Ironic, given my own buried truths. But the undercurrent pulled strong, words laced with double meanings. "Ryan called this morning," Jake said, stirring sugar absently. "Wants a guy's night this weekend. Poker, beers, the works." My fork paused over pancakes. Guy's night, the holy trinity of bro code, where secrets went to die. "You going?" Dumb question. Of course he was. "Yeah, but after." He reached across, fingers grazing my wrist, hidden by the menu stand. "Meet me? Back alley behind O'Brien's. 11. The touch lingered, a promise, and I nodded, heat blooming despite the chill seeping through the window. We ate like normal people, laughing over burnt toast anecdotes, but every glance was foreplay, every brush electric. He left first, tossing cash for the bill with a wink that said mine. I sat a minute longer, heart racing, wondering how a man who'd fixed roofs and thrown punches could unravel me with a look. Back at the house, Ryan was prepping for his shift, badge gleaming on the counter. "Jake says you're turning into a hermit," he teased, ruffling my hair like I was 12. "Get out more, life's too short." If only he knew. I mumbled something about deadlines, escaped to my room, and pulled out my sketch pad. Pages filled with Jake. Jaw set against wind, hands in pockets, that scar like a roadmap to his wild heart. By evening, guilt gnawed. Ryan, my rock, the brother who'd shielded me from Dad's disappointments, from Mom's distance. Confessing to Jake felt like betrayal by proxy. Guy's night arrived with fanfare. Ryan hauling in a cooler of micros, Jake arriving with a deck of cards and that easy swagger. Our basement rec room, paneling from the 70s, a pool table scarred by darts, transformed into man cave nirvana. They dove in, trash-talking over flops and folds, while I nursed a soda, dealer by default. Watching them, Ryan's competitive scowl, Jake's bluffing grin, stirred a cocktail of envy and dread. This was their world. Mine was the shadows. Around 10, Ryan's phone buzzed. A call from dispatch, overtime pulling him away. "Sorry, boys," he groaned, grabbing keys. "Handle the cleanup, yeah?" He bear-hugged Jake, clapped my shoulder. "Don't let him cheat you too bad, little bro." The door slammed, engine revved, and silence descended like snow. Jake dealt the next hand slow, eyes on me. "Your move." But cards forgotten, he stood, rounded the table, pulled me up. We crashed together, mouths hungry, hands mapping uncharted territory over shirts and belts. Chaste but charged, boundaries we swore to honor. "God, Ethan," he breathed against my neck. "You're killing me." Laughter bubbled up, nervous, real, and we broke apart giggling like kids. "Allie's waiting," I reminded, glancing at the clock. He nodded, zipping his jacket, and we slipped out back, past the garage, into the narrow lane where dumpsters loomed like sentinels. Snow-muffled footsteps, street lamps casting halos on his face. We talked then, really talked. His first crush on a teammate in high school, buried under bravado. My college fumblings, apps deleted in panic. "I thought I was broken," he admitted, leaning against brick. "Until you make it feel right." I kissed him there, under flurries, soft and sure. It was our first real one, unrushed, exploratory, the city humming approval. Minutes stretched, then his phone lit up. "Ryan?" Texting on my way back. "Traffic's hell." Panic flared. "Go," I urged, and he did, vanishing into night like a ghost. Ryan burst in minutes later, flushed from cold. "Miss me?" Jake played it cool, folding a hand, but I caught the tremor in his laugh. The night wound down, poker abandoned for highlights on the flat screen, but tension coiled tight. As Jake hugged goodbye, bro style, backslap firm, I felt the lie settle heavier. Days blurred into a secret rhythm. Stolen texts, miss your laugh, coffee runs where knees touched under tables, sketches of him tucked in my wallet. Jake's job had him framing houses in the suburbs, dawn to dusk calls, but he'd detour downtown, meet me at the center where I volunteered, tutoring kids on digital art, showing them how to draw their truths without fear. "You're good with them," he'd say, watching from the doorway, pride softening his edges. "Teaching what you need to learn." One afternoon, rain lashing the windows, a kid named Marco, 14, wide-eyed, out since 12, showed me his portrait. 2 boys holding hands under a rainbow flag. "Is it weird?" he asked, voice small. I shook my head, throat tight. "Nah, it's brave." Jake overheard, squeezed my shoulder later. "That's you, braver than you know. But bravery has a shelf life." Ryan started noticing my distracted silences, the glow I couldn't dim. "You seeing someone?" he probed over dinner, fork-spearing lasagna. "Spill, man. I won't judge." Lie of omission burned, but I deflected. "Just work. Busy." He let it drop, but suspicion lingered like smoke. The breaking point brewed at Ryan's birthday bash. A backyard blowout in early spring, thaws turning mud to promise. Our yard, chain-link fenced, hosted 24 precinct buddies, Jake's crew, neighbors with coolers. Grills sizzled brats. A keg tapped under the oak Dad planted. Jake arrived late, sun-kissed from a sight, bearing a cake he'd baked, store-bought, iced crooked. Ryan bear-hugged him, shouting, "My brother from another," words that twisted like knives. I manned the grill, flipping burgers, stealing glances as Jake mingled, charming, untouchable. Our eyes met over flames, heat mirroring deeper fires. Later, as dusk fell and fireflies sparked, he cornered me by the shed. "Dance with me." No music but crickets, but we swayed anyway, his hand low on my back, breath warm. "Tell Ryan," he urged soft. "We can't keep this." "I will." I lied, because fear was a chain. Then Ryan's voice boomed. "There you are." He stumbled over, 3 beers deep, arm slinging Jake's shoulders. "Come on, bro, shots." Jake went, reluctant, and I watched them vanish into the crowd. Brotherhood a wall I couldn't breach. The night peaked in chaos. A precinct pal challenging Jake to arm wrestle. Ryan refereeing with hoots. Jake won, grinning, but winced later. Old shoulder twinge from construction. I fetched ice, pressed it to his skin in the dim garage, fingers lingering. "Careful," he murmured, covering my hand. The door creaked, Ryan swaying. "What the?" Time froze. Ryan's eyes narrowed, piecing it. The ice, the touch, the flush on our faces. "Ethan? Jake? What the fuck is this?" His voice cracked, betrayal blooming red. Jake stepped forward. "Ryan, listen." "No!" Ryan roared, shoving him back. "My best friend? My brother? You lying sacks of..." Fists flew then. Ryan's cop training no match for Jake's raw build. But it was ugly. Punches landing dull, blood on knuckles. I dove between, taking a stray elbow to the ribs. "Stop! Ryan, please!" He staggered back, chest heaving, eyes wild with hurt. "How long?" Silence damned us. "Get out!" He spat at Jake. "Both of you. Now." Jake hesitated, looked to me. "Go? Stay?" But I nodded, tears hot. We fled to his truck. Rain starting again. Ryan's silhouette in the door like judgment. The drive was wordless, wipers slashing tears from glass. He pulled into a lot by the lake, engine idling. "I'm sorry," Jake whispered, head bowed. "I pushed too hard." I shook my head, climbing his lap despite the dash. Holding him as sobs racked us both. "We did this together." Dawn crept, gray and unforgiving, and in that limbo we vowed, fight for it, for us. But Ryan's rage echoed, a fracture in the family stone. The days after the blow-up stretched like taffy, sticky, endless, pulling me in directions I couldn't navigate. Ryan went radio silent, holed up in his room or the precinct, his shifts stretching into doubles like armor against the truth. Our house, once a haven of easy chaos, turned mausoleum quiet, dishes unwashed, fridge humming accusations. I texted Jake sparingly, "You okay? Miss you." His replies clipped, haunted by guilt. Construction sites didn't pause for heartbreak. He hammered nails by day, stared at ceilings by night. I threw myself into work, pixels blurring as I designed campaigns for the youth center. Bold graphics of intertwined hands, slogans like "Your story," unapologetic. Irony bit deep, preaching visibility while dodging my brother's calls. Marco noticed, cornering me one session. "You look sad, Mr. Ethan, like when my dads fought before they made up." His dads, openly gay, married a decade, had become my unwitting mentors, inviting me to barbecues where laughter flowed free. Sometimes, I told him, forcing a smile, love means messy bridges, but Ryan's bridge was scorched earth. A week in, he cornered me in the kitchen, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "How could you him? Of all people." Not anger now, grief raw as an open wound. I leaned on the counter, voice steady despite the quake. "I love him, Ryan. Have for years. It wasn't planned." He laughed, bitter. "Love? That's what you call sneaking around behind my back?" "Jake's like blood to me." His fist clenched, knuckles still bruised from the fight, a purple bloom mirroring his heart. "Dad would roll over." The betrayal. "Dad's gone," I snapped, heat rising. "And he wasn't exactly father of the year. This isn't about him or you. It's mine." The words hung, first time I'd claimed them aloud. Ryan recoiled, then softened, shoulders slumping. "Just give me time." It wasn't absolution, but a crack, light through stone. Jake and I met in fragments. Park benches at dusk, where joggers blurred by oblivious. A motel on the outskirts once, anonymous and aching, where we held each other through tears, whispers mapping futures we might not have. "We'll tell the world," he'd say, fingers tracing my spine. Starting with him. But fear clung, a third wheel in our bed. Spring deepened, cherry blossoms rioting pink along Michigan Avenue. The center hosted a pride prep event. Rainbow banners, kids painting signs, and I dragged Jake there, his hand in mine under the table, public but veiled. He charmed the volunteers, fixed a wobbly booth with duct tape wizardry, and when Marco high-fived him, "Cool scar, mister," Jake's eyes misted. "This," he murmured later, as we walked the lakeside path, gulls wheeling overhead, "this is why. For them. For us." Emboldened, I texted Ryan. "Dinner? Neutral. Please." He agreed, pizza joint near the station, turf of his choosing. I arrived early, nerves jangling, Jake waiting in the truck 2 blocks over like getaway. Ryan slid in opposite, uniform crisp, face guarded. "Talk." I spilled it all. The crush from boyhood, the fear of losing him, the kiss that shattered walls. "You're still my brother," I finished, voice thick. "First. Always." He listened, pizza cooling untouched, then sighed. A gust carrying years. "I punched my best friend. For you, for this. Feels like I failed you both." Tears tracked his cheeks, unashamed. "Just promise no more lies." We hugged then, awkward over Formica, but real. Seals on fragile peace. "Jake too," he added gruff. "Man up. Bring him next time." Elation surged. I bolted to the truck, Jake's arms enveloping me as I sobbed the news. "We're in," I gasped. "All of us." The reconciliation barbecue was Ryan's idea. Backyard redux, smaller scale. Just us 3, plus his ex-wife Sarah for buffer, her easy warmth a bomb. Grills smoked again, but tension simmered low. Jake arrived tentative, 6-pack in hand. Ryan meeting him at the gate with a nod stiff. But there. No bullshit, Ryan said, clapping his shoulder. We're good. Or trying. They gravitated to the cooler, murmurs building to laughs. Old stories resurfacing. Punches forgiven in anecdote. I watched from the porch, heart full, sketching their silhouettes against sunset. 3 men. Mended. Sarah sidled up, squeezing my arm. Proud of you, kid. Takes guts. Her divorce had been amicable, but she'd seen Ryan's shadows. Now, she winked. He's tougher than he looks. As dusk fell, Jake found me, pulling me into the oak's shadow. Told you, he whispered, kissing my temple. Family sticks. We joined them then, beers clinking in tentative toast, to messy starts. Ryan's eyes met mine. Forgiveness, fierce and new. But peace is fleeting in stories like ours. 2 weeks later, Jake's phone rang mid-dinner. His mom, voice shrill through speaker. She'd found his journal, dog-eared pages spilling our secrets in ink. Your father's coming down, she hissed. From Wisconsin. Says he'll disown you if this filth is true. Jake paled, fork dropping. Ryan and I exchanged glances. His hand on Jake's shoulder, steady. Let him come, Ryan growled. We'll face it. The showdown landed like thunder. Jake's dad, Harlan, a burly ex-trucker with a mustache like steel wool, storming our door that Saturday, Bible in hand, eyes blazing judgment. Boy, what the hell? Sneaking with your friend's brother? Against God, nature, everything. He loomed in the living room, Ryan and I flanking Jake on the couch, united front. Jake stood, voice even. Dad, it's love. Real as yours and Mom's ever was. Harlan scoffed, but faltered at the steel in his son's gaze. The same unyielding core that built houses from nothing. Ryan chimed in, cop calm. Harlan, sit. Hear him. Minutes stretched into hours. Harlan railing scripture, Jake countering with heart. Stories of us. The center kids. The quiet dignity of living true. I spoke last, throat dry. Sir, I love him. Not despite you, but because life's too short for hate. Harlan's bluster cracked then. Tears for the boy he'd lost to his own fears. I failed you, he muttered, deflating into the armchair. No hugs, but a nod as he left. Think on it, son. Door clicked shut. We exhaled, collapsing in relief. That night, Jake stayed, Ryan's blessing, couch upgraded to guest room. We lay tangled in dark, whispers weaving dreams. Road trip west, maybe, chasing sunsets. You're my home, he said, and I believed it, the world vast and kind again. Summer scorched in, humidity thick as secrets once were. Ryan dated casually. A barista with tattoos, his laughter returning, lighter. We triple dated once. Awkward hilarity at a Cubs game. Hot dogs, heckles, Jake's arm around me open now, Ryan's cheers blending with ours. The center thrived. Marco's portrait won a youth art contest. His dad's beaming at the gallery opening where Jake and I stood hand in hand. Ryan snapping pics like a proud uncle. But cracks lingered. Jake's mom warmed slow. Holiday cards with tentative love. Mom. But Harlan? Radio silence. A ghost in the rearview. It gnawed at Jake. Nights he'd wake sweating, murmuring apologies to shadows. He'll come around. I'd soothe, but doubt crept, a thief in our joy. The climax brewed in autumn, leaves turning fire orange as football season reignited. Ryan scored tickets to the Bears-Packers rivalry. Prime box seats, his precinct perk. Brothers' night, he declared, but winked. +1. Jake grinned, but tension hummed. Harlan lived Green Bay now, Packers diehard, and whispers said he'd be at the game. Tailgate warrior. Soldier Field thrummed electric. 60,000 souls in green and gold, cheeseheads clashing with navy. We settled in the box. Beers chilled, nachos steaming. Ryan narrating plays like a pro. Halftime hit, score nodded, and Jake tensed, spotting him. Harlan, 2 sections over, hollering with buddies. Go, Ryan urged, nudging. End it. Jake descended, me trailing, heart in throat. Harlan turned mid-chant, face thunderous. You, but Jake held ground. Dad, watch the game with us. As family. Silence stretched, crowd roar fading. Harlan's eyes flicked to me, appraising, softening fraction. For the Packers, he grunted, climbing stairs. Ryan greeted him gruff, handshake firm, and we sat, for now, cheers tentative then building. The fourth quarter exploded. Bears surging, Packers crumbling, Harlan's curses turning to reluctant claps. Final whistle blew. Victory blew, and he turned to Jake, voice rough. Proud of you, son. Win or lose. Know I love you, but the hug. Bear tight, said it. Tears mixed with sweat. Ryan hooped, pulling us all in. Back home, fire crackling, we toasted to shocks that heal. Jake's hand in mine, Ryan's grin wide, Harlan's call later. Good game. A bridge rebuilt. Life's not fairy tale. Scars linger, doubts whisper. But in that circle, brothers by blood and choice, we found grace. Human, messy, ours. And damn if it wasn't the best win yet. As winter's grip loosened into a tentative spring, the real storm gathered, not outside, but in the quiet erosions of trust. Harlan's olive branch at the game had been a start, but starts are fragile, like the first green shoots pushing through frost. Jake threw himself into mending that rift, weekend drives north to Green Bay. Long talks over diner pie, Harlan's grunts evolving into questions about my job, our life. Treat him right, he'd say, eyeing Jake with that paternal mix of pride and warning. It warmed me, but unease simmered. Jake's absences left voids, and Ryan, ever the protector, started probing. You're glowing less, he noted one evening, us two nursing coffees on the porch as rain pattered new leaves. Jake pulling away? I shook my head, but the seed planted. Texts from Jake grew sporadic. Sight running late. Love you. Harmless until the night he canceled our date. Family dinner with Dad. Tomorrow. Tomorrow became the next day. Then a week of emergencies. Doubt is a slow poison. I scrolled his socials, construction selfies with the crew, a tagged photo from a bar with Harlan, arms slung in camaraderie. No me. We hadn't gone public wide yet, by mutual caution, but the omission stung. At the center, Marco's dads noticed my sketches turning somber. Shadowed figures, backs turned. Talked to him. They advised over takeout. Their home a rainbow haven of board games and dog hair. Communications, the glue. So I confronted, over a picnic in Grant Park. Blankets spread under the bean, tourists snapping pics of our skyline's mirrored curve. Jake arrived harried, tool belt scars on his palms fresh. Missed you, he said, kissing me quick, but his eyes darted, distracted. Dad's opening up, it's huge. I nodded, unpacking sandwiches, but words tumbled. Feels like I'm on the outside now, like repairing him means breaking us. He froze, turkey on rye halfway to mouth. Ethno, you're everything. But defensiveness crept in. Stories of Harlan's regrets, the loneliness post-divorce, how Jake was the only one left. Guilt twisted my gut. I'd had Ryan's steady orbit, Jake had rebuilt from scraps. I get it, I said soft. Just include me, he promised, pulling me close, the city's hum a lullaby. That night, we made love in his apartment. First time fully, bodies learning rhythms in candle flicker, tender and profound. No rush to claim but to cherish. Dawn found us tangled, his whisper, never letting go. Hope bloomed anew, but betrayal wears disguises. It slithered in via Ryan, a precinct gossip, casual over burgers. Heard Jake's crew hit a rough patch, some bar fight last month. Harlan bailed him out. My fork stilled. Jake hadn't mentioned. When? Ryan shrugged. Couple weeks back. Figured he'd tell you. He hadn't. That evening, I drove to the site. Skeleton of a McMansion on the North Shore. Floodlights harsh. Jake hammered last boards. Sweat sheened. Spotting me with surprise. Babe? Early finish. I held up my phone, Ryan's text screenshot. His face fell, hammer dropping. It was nothing. Dad overreacted, drunk idiot swung at me over. Harlan pulled me out. Nothing. Echo hurt. You lied. Not the fight, the silence, the barrier he'd rebuilt without me. He reached, but I stepped back. Ethan, please. Protecting you. From the mess. From your mess. Or mine. Words sharpened. Unintended. We argued under stars, voices rising over lake waves crashing distant. His fear of losing Harlan again. My terror of being sidelined. I need all of you, I pleaded. Scars and all. He nodded, broken, pulling me into dust and embrace. I'm scared too, of screwing this. Forgiveness came hard, therapy sessions at the center, couples group for queer folks, where we unpacked baggage. Jake's abandonment wounds, my closet scars. Ryan joined once, awkward but earnest, his presence a bridge. Family therapy, he joked, but meant it. Bonds knit tighter, Harlan even visiting, stiff barbecue. But he grilled with me, sharing war stories, a nod to acceptance. Summer festivals bloomed. Pride parade, rainbows flooding streets, Jake and I marching hand in hand. Ryan on our float tossing beads like confetti. Marco waved from the crowd, sign aloft. Love wins. Elation peaked, but undercurrents stirred. Jake's crew ribbing him at sights. When's the wedding, Turner? Light, but laced with edge. He laughed it off, but tension coiled. The high tide crashed in August, heat wave sticky as deceit. Jake's phone buzzed during a center picnic. Harlan, urgent. Come now, mom's bad. We raced to the hospital in Milwaukee. Ryan trailing in his cruiser, sirens clearing lanes. Cancer, stage 4, lurking thief. Harlan waited in the hall, hollow-eyed. Knew for months. Didn't want pity. Jake crumbled, holding vigil by her bed. Tubes and beeps a dirge. I sat silent, hand in his, Ryan fetching coffees in loops. Days blurred. Her decline swift. Final breaths a rattle that echoed in our souls. Funeral was Quaker quiet. Harlan's eulogy cracking. She loved fierce. Taught me too late. Afterward, at the reception, church basement, Jell-O salads, Jake vanished. I found him by the lake, skipping stones, face streaked. Can't breathe, he gasped, collapsing into me. What if I lose him too? To this, to hating what I am. Harlan approached then, slow, placing a hand on Jake's shoulder. Son, I was wrong. You and Ethan is good, clean, like her love. Tears united them, hug fierce, and I stood witness. Family forged in fire. Healing was jagged. Jake quit drinking, channeled grief into a foundation. Youth build program at the center, hammers teaching hope. Ryan mentored, badge lending cred. Harlan relocated south, closer, Thanksgiving toasts tentative, then warm. Our first holiday as foursome. Turkey, stories, Jake's ring on my finger. Simple band, promise whispered. Winter circled back, snow soft now, not storm. Game night redux. Bears on TV, beers cracked, Harlan in Ryan's armchair, commentary gruff. Jake's arm around me, open, Ryan's wink across the room. No shocks left. Just the quiet thrill of us, woven whole. Life's dramas fade to humanity's hum. Love, not perfect, but persistent. And in that, we scored the win that lasts. Yet even in mending, shadows lengthen. Spring brought green, but also ghosts. Jake's foundation launch party. A gala at the center. Donors in suits, kids beaming in vests. Harlan keynote, voice steady. For my son, who built more than houses. Applause thundered. Jake's eyes on me, love, unshadowed. But post-toast, a donor cornered him. Silver-haired exec, grip lingering. Proud work. Reminds me of my nephew, lost to, well, you know, subtext hung. The era's scars, suicides unspoken. Jake brushed it off, but later in our apartment. Cozy walk-up we'd leased together, canvases on walls, he paced. What if it's not enough? What if they take you from me? Paranoia, grief's echo. I pulled him down, legs entwined on the rug. No one's taking. We're the builders now. Ryan's life shifted too. Serious with the barista, Lena, her ink a map of resilience. Wedding bells hinted, and he asked Jake to stand up. Full circle, man. Jake accepted, teary, our trio evolving to quartet. Marco apprenticed under Jake, hammer swinging small but sure. His dad's hosting us for game nights, chess, not football, laughter bridging generations. But climax loomed in summer's heat, a callback to origins. Bears training camp invite, VIP tour for donors. Jake and I went, Ryan bowing out for Lena's show. Fields baked under July sun, players drilling, sweat and grit. Jake, ever the fan, chatted coaches, but mid-tour his phone died. Left charging in the truck. No issue, until return. Missed calls, 10 from Harlan. Heart stop. We raced back, lines buzzing. Harlan collapsed, stroke, en route to ER. Milwaukee again, irony's bite. Jake drove white-knuckled, me navigating, prayers silent. Ryan met us there, Lena in tow, her comma anchor. Harlan stabilized, weak but lucid, tubes snaking. Fool me, he rasped to Jake. Worried over nothing, but eyes said stay. Vigil redux. Shifts, stories, Harlan's hand in mine one night. Gruff. You're good for him, boy. Steady. Jake overheard, breaking, release of years. Recovery was slog. Rehab, relapses, but community rallied, center kids sending cards, Ryan driving carpools. Harlan moved in temporarily. Our spare room, awkward symphony of snores and suppers. Fall deepened colors, football fever peaking. Home game, all of us. Harlan in wheelchair, Ryan pushing, Jake and me arm in arm. Box seats again, cheers unified, Bears triumph. But real victory, Harlan's whisper to Jake. Love you, son. All the way. No fanfare, but profound. Winter solstice brought closure. Harlan's discharge. Return north with home health. Promises of visits. Our holiday, expanded now, Lena's family too, was feast of forgiveness. Toasts to absent, embraces for present. Jake proposed that night under mistletoe, ring from his tool pouch engraved built to last. Forever. A yes, tears salting kisses. Years fold forward. Wedding small, lakeside, Ryan best man, Harlan officiant in spirit, Marco ringbearer grinning gap-toothed. Center thrives, foundation expands, houses for queer youth, safe starts. Ryan's family grows, niece tugging Jake's scar, uncle story, laughter echoes, shocks soften to stories. In the end, it's not the thunder that defines us, but the quiet after. Hands held through storms, brothers by choice, love's patient build. Shocking? Once. Now it's home. Human, whole hours.